Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to At Home with the Raw Butler. Now, as I say every week, thank you for all the likes, the comments, the subscribers. I love reading the comments. Please forgive me if I don't answer to every single one. I try to like and heart as many as possible. It's just there's quite a few to get through. But if any of you have any questions, I do try to answer them. And alternatively, you can always drop me an email and I can try my best to respond to you. It's just some weeks I'm quite full on with the classes and with the work that I do as well, with my media work. So forgive me if I don't respond, but I shall try to do my best. Now, for today's episode, I wanted to talk to you about how to look after old books. Well, I say old books, this can apply to any books. Now, when I was training as a royal butler, and obviously I've worked in some amazing homes and castles and palaces, and there has been quite an array of old books. And when I say old books, we're talking about books that go back 200, 300, even 400 years. So I was very lucky that when I worked for the royal household, that I did a course at Buckingham Palace, and part of the course was how to look after books. And I'm now going to show you the few tips that I learnt, and I thought it'd be quite fun to demonstrate this, and then hopefully it will help you look after both old and modern books. And also I'll do a little bit on the etiquette of how to actually read a book. Did you know there's an actual etiquette? This probably applies more to the older books, but still equally interesting. And as always, I'm sure that Shumba or some of the Royal Dachshunds will be watching from the sidelines and may even want to give a hand. That'll be interesting. Right, let's get started with this book cleaning. So here I've got a book from my collection. I've actually just got it from the bookshelf just to the side of me. And this is by a Mr. John Gay, a late John Gay, because he was alive between 1685 and 1732. So it's quite an old book. I want to say it is coming up to 300 years, one about another 30 years, it'll be 300 years old. And it's a book on poetry. Now, this gentleman, John Gay, was known for poetry and a playwright, and was from Devon. And I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he's actually buried at Westminster Abbey. So he was, in his day, I'd like to think he was quite a famous playwright and poet. And here I have one, I've got two. I've got volume 1 and volume 2, and this is volume 2. Now, when it comes to caring for these kind of books, there is certain things you have to bear in mind. Now, if I was in a private home, a castle, a palace, then to handle this, I would be wearing gloves to be on the safe side. But the thing is, this is my home. I like people to look at the things that I've got. People always pick things up. I'm aware they can get damaged, but that's a risk that I take. And I think it's really nice to be able to handle these original objects. So I don't wear gloves, but I am aware that the acid of my hands could affect the book and the pages. So it is worth bearing that in mind if you want to maybe have people wear gloves when they handle books that are a few hundred years old. Now, when it comes to caring for this, I have quite simply here got a duster and a little brush. And with the duster, all I do, and it's very rare, it's only from time to time, possibly like maybe once a year, that I'll actually take the books out of the bookcase and then give them a very, very gentle wipe. But I, as you can see, when I say gentle, really, really gentle, because what I don't want to do is to damage the book in any way. And then once you've done that, I've then got a little brush here. And what I do with my brush is, and bear in mind this could be slightly messy, so it might be worth bearing that in mind, that you have to do a little bit of vacuuming after. And then with your brush, I very carefully brush along the top of the book and then down the sides and the same along the bottom, very gently. Now, when I did the course at the Palace on how to care for books, one of the things they did say was that if you had anything sticky or anything obviously on the cover of the book that you want to remove, you could use a damp cloth. But when I say damp, it's hardly even wet. It was very slightly damp and it was very carefully done. But I would leave it to the experts if you're not sure. And I would just stick to doing exactly what I'm showing you just now. And when it comes to actually reading or looking at a book like this, it's really important that you obviously protect the book. And what I mean by that is when you're opening it, obviously use both hands. And when you open it, I'm going to rest it in my hand like that. And then using the finger, do not wet the finger. How many times do you see people wetting a finger before they touch the pages? That's only going to damage the book. So what you do is very carefully, you run your hand along the top of the page and then down the side, and then you just turn it. And then obviously you can use your thumb to keep it in place. And there we go. And that's how you would read the book, very carefully and as gentle as I'm showing you now. So as I said, you start with your finger at the top of the page, run it along, then down, and then turn. I was actually shown this by somebody that cares for books and explained this is the best way to read a book. Lastly, when you're storing the book or putting it in the bookshelf, most of us do stack our books like this. However, did you know that this can put pressure on the spine, which eventually, latterly, will damage the book? And so what I was recommended is that books, especially old books, should be stored like this. So you store them flat down and then pile the other books on top. But you will notice in stately homes, castles and palaces, the books are put into shelves like this. Sometimes they do put something underneath to try to protect the pages so that it doesn't pull down on the spine, but it's personal choice really. And if they do get badly damaged, then obviously they'll have to go away and get rebound. And I think in a way that if you do have to have these restored, you lose part of the history and part of what makes the book special, because this has remained untouched since the 1750s when it was published, and hopefully I can make sure that it stays that way for many, many more years to come. I hope you've enjoyed today's At Home with the Royal Butler. I just want to quickly mention that I'm doing a very special online Zoom class with the cousin of Queen Elizabeth II, Her Royal Highness Princess Katerina, who is a royal princess based in London, and as I mentioned, a cousin of the Queen. We're going to be hosting an online etiquette class, and it's going to be covering day-to-day etiquette. So it's things like introductions, meeting and greeting, and that kind of thing. And also taking a lot of questions and answers as well. So if you want to join us for a Zoom, it's not a YouTube, it's a Zoom online class, and we are limiting the numbers because obviously we've got to kind of keep some sort of control over the questions. So if you do want to join us, the link is underneath this video and you'll be more than welcome. And the tickets are only £25 a ticket. So I hope you can purchase one and come and join us. But in the meantime, I will be back on Friday with the next In Conversation with the Royal Butler. In the meantime, stay safe and happy reading.